The bitter taste hit Zara's tongue the moment she took a sip of her evening tea. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Brandon had never made her tea before in their 5 years of marriage, and tonight he insisted she drink it while it was hot. His smile seemed forced as he watched her every sip from across their kitchen island. "How's the tea, baby?" Brandon asked, his voice carrying a strange tension she'd never heard before. "It's good," Zara lied, setting the cup down carefully. Her heart began to race as she noticed the way his eyes followed the cup. There was something different about him tonight. His usual confident demeanor seemed nervous, almost excited in a way that made her skin crawl. Brandon checked his watch for the third time in 5 minutes. "You should finish it. Green tea is good for you." Zara nodded and lifted the cup again, but this time she barely let the liquid touch her lips. The bitter aftertaste confirmed her worst fears. Someone had put something in her drink. Her own husband had drugged her tea. "I'm feeling really tired," she said, faking a yawn. "Maybe I should go to bed early." "That's a good idea," Brandon said too quickly. "You've been working so hard lately. You need your rest." As Zara walked toward their bedroom, she could feel Brandon's eyes burning into her back. Her mind raced with questions. Why would he drug her? What was he planning to do while she was unconscious? The man she had trusted with her life, her heart, and her business had just tried to knock her out with sleeping pills. She climbed into bed fully clothed, pulling the covers up to her chin. Through slightly opened eyes, she watched Brandon pace in the hallway, checking his phone constantly. Whatever he was planning, he was waiting for the drugs to take effect. 20 minutes passed before Brandon quietly pushed open their bedroom door. Zara controlled her breathing, making it slow and deep like someone in a drug-induced sleep. He stood at the foot of the bed for what felt like forever, just watching her. "Zara," he whispered. "Baby, are you awake?" She didn't respond. He called her name again, louder this time. Still nothing. Satisfied that she was unconscious, Brandon crept toward her side of the bed where her handbag sat on the nightstand. Through her barely open eyelids, Zara watched in horror as her husband of 5 years began rifling through her personal belongings. He pulled out her business checkbook, her credit cards, and the key to her office safe. But what made her blood turn to ice was watching him photograph each document with his phone. Brandon pulled out a small notebook and started writing down numbers. Account numbers. Passwords. Access codes to her business accounts that she had written down and kept in her wallet. He was stealing everything. When he finished with her handbag, Brandon quietly left the bedroom. Zara heard him walk down the hall to his home office and close the door. She waited 5 more minutes before carefully getting out of bed and tiptoeing to the hallway. She could hear him talking on the phone through the closed office door. "Yes, I got everything," Brandon said in a hushed voice. "Account numbers, passwords, everything. She's completely out. Those pills worked perfectly." Zara pressed her ear closer to the door, her heart pounding so loud she was afraid he might hear it. "No, Nicole, she has no idea. She trusts me completely. By tomorrow night, we'll have transferred the first 100,000. By the end of the week, everything will be in our accounts." Nicole. Zara's mind reeled. Who was Nicole? And what did Brandon mean by our accounts? "I know it's risky, but she'll never suspect anything. I've been giving her small doses in her coffee for weeks to make her sleep deeper. Tonight was just stronger so I could get what we needed." Zara's legs nearly gave out. He had been drugging her for weeks. All those times she thought she was just tired from work, all those nights she fell asleep earlier than usual, it was all Brandon poisoning her. "Don't worry about her waking up. She won't remember anything. These pills cause memory loss. Even if she did wake up, she'd think it was a dream." Brandon's laugh sent chills down Zara's spine. This wasn't the man she married. This was a stranger who had been systematically planning to destroy her life. "I love you too, Nicole. After this is over, we can finally be together for real. Zara will have nothing left and we'll have everything we ever wanted." Zara backed away from the door, her whole world crashing down around her. Not only was Brandon stealing from her, but he was also having an affair. The man she had built a life with, the man she had trusted with her business and her heart, had been planning to ruin her all along. She made it back to the bedroom and climbed under the covers just as she heard Brandon's office door open. Her mind was racing, but she forced her body to remain still as he checked on her one more time. "Sleep tight, baby," Brandon whispered, kissing her forehead. "Tomorrow's going to be a very interesting day." As soon as he left for his own shower, Zara allowed the tears to flow. But even as her heart broke, something else was building inside her. Something stronger than sadness. Something that burned hotter than betrayal. Rage. Brandon thought she was asleep. He thought she was helpless. He thought he could steal everything she had worked for and walk away with another woman. He was about to learn just how wrong he was. Zara lay awake all night, listening to Brandon's peaceful breathing beside her. The man who had just plotted to steal her life's work was sleeping like a baby, probably dreaming about his new life with Nicole. Every fiber of her being wanted to confront him right now, to scream and demand answers. But she knew that would be the worst thing she could do. If Brandon thought she knew about his plan, he might speed up his timeline or find another way to destroy her. No, she needed to be smarter than that. She needed to let him think his plan was working while she figured out how to stop him. The next morning, Brandon was extra attentive, bringing her coffee in bed and asking how she slept. Like a rock, Zara said, watching his face carefully. I don't even remember falling asleep. That tea really knocked me out. Relief flooded his features. You've been so stressed with work lately. Your body obviously needed the rest. Yeah, maybe you're right. She took a sip of the coffee, noting the slightly bitter aftertaste that she now recognized as sleeping medication. This tastes a little strange. I used a new brand, Brandon said quickly. If you don't like it, I can make a fresh pot. No, it's fine. Zara forced herself to drink half the cup before claiming she was too full to finish. She couldn't risk being drugged again, not when she needed to stay sharp. After Brandon left for work, Zara immediately dumped the rest of the coffee down the sink and began searching their house for any evidence of his betrayal. In his home office, she found a notebook hidden behind his computer with pages of financial information. Her financial information. Bank account numbers, passwords, even the combination to her office safe, everything was written down in Brandon's handwriting. But what made her blood boil was the timeline he had created. He had been planning this for months. According to his notes, the affair with Nicole had started 2 years ago. 2 years of lies, 2 years of living with a man who was pretending to love her while planning to destroy her. The timeline showed that he had been slowly increasing the doses of sleeping medication in her drinks, testing how much he could give her without making her suspicious. But the worst part was reading his notes about their marriage. Z completely trusts me, he had written. Easy target. Business worth approximate 2.5 million. Personal savings 800K. Should be able to transfer everything within 2 weeks once I have access codes. Zara was nothing more than a business transaction to him. Their entire relationship, their wedding, their shared dreams for the future, it had all been fake. Brandon had married her for her money, and now he was ready to cash out. She photographed every page of his notebook with her phone, making sure to capture all the details. She also found bank statements for accounts she had never heard of, all in Brandon's name. He had already started moving small amounts of money, a few hundred here, 1,000 there. Amounts small enough that she wouldn't notice them missing from her business accounts. Nicole's contact information was written on the back page of the notebook, along with details about her job at First National Bank. That explained how they planned to move the money without raising suspicion. Nicole had inside access to banking systems and could probably manipulate the transfers to look legitimate. Zara's phone buzzed with a text from Brandon. How are you feeling today? Still tired? A little, she texted back. Might take a nap this afternoon. Good idea. I'll bring dinner home tonight. Rest up. Even his fake concern made her sick. But she needed to play along until she could figure out her next move. She spent the rest of the day researching private investigators and divorce lawyers online, being careful to clear her browser history afterward. That evening, Brandon came home with Chinese takeout and another cup of tea for her. You're so sweet, Zara said, accepting the cup. I don't deserve you. Of course you do, Brandon replied, kissing her cheek. You deserve everything good in this world. The irony of his words almost made her laugh. While he was telling her she deserved everything good, he was literally trying to take everything from her. Once again, Zara pretended to drink the tea and fall asleep early. And once again, she watched through barely open eyes as Brandon went through her things, this time taking photos of new documents he found in her work bag. This time, his phone conversation was even more revealing. She's getting sloppier about hiding her passwords, Brandon told Nicole. I found her new client contracts in her bag. Once we transfer the money from her business accounts, we can also steal her client list and start our own company. They weren't just planning to rob her. They were planning to destroy her business and steal her clients too. No, she doesn't suspect anything, Brandon continued. The sleeping pills are working perfectly. She's been so drowsy lately that she thinks she's just tired from work. By the time she realizes what happened, we'll be long gone. I miss you too, baby. Just a few more days and we can stop pretending. Zara will be broke and we'll have enough money to disappear forever. Zara gripped the bedsheets so tightly her knuckles went white. They were planning to leave her with nothing. Not just broke but completely destroyed with no way to rebuild. But as she lay there listening to Brandon plot her destruction, Zara felt something she hadn't expected. Instead of falling apart, she felt herself getting stronger. Instead of being paralyzed by betrayal, she felt energized by anger. Brandon thought he was so clever, so much smarter than her. He thought she was just some trusting wife who would never see it coming. But he had made one crucial mistake. He had underestimated her. Zara Williams hadn't built a successful business by being weak or naive. She had fought for everything she had, and she wasn't about to let some two-timing husband and his mistress take it away from her. By the time Brandon finished his phone call and came back to check on her, Zara had already started planning her counterattack. You wanted to play games? Fine. She would play games too. But she was going to win. The next morning, Zara called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. She needed time to research and plan without Brandon getting suspicious about her sudden interest in legal matters. After he left for his job, she drove across town to a private investigation firm that had excellent online reviews. Robert Chen's office was small but professional, with certificates covering one wall and a large desk covered in case files. The middle-aged investigator looked up when she walked in, immediately sensing something was wrong. "Mrs. Williams," he said after she introduced herself, "what can I help you with today?" "I need you to investigate my husband," Zara said, getting straight to the point. "I have reason to believe he's planning to steal money from me and my business." Robert leaned forward, his expression serious. "What kind of evidence do you have?" Zara showed him the photos she had taken of Brandon's notebook, explaining how she had discovered his plan. Robert's eyebrows raised as he looked through the images. "This is more than just infidelity," he said. "This looks like organized fraud. How long do you think this has been going on?" According to his notes, at least 2 years. Maybe longer. Zara's voice was steady, but inside she was shaking with anger. "I need to know everything. Who Nicole is, how long they've been together, if they've already moved any of my money, and what their exact plan is." "I can do that," Robert said. "But I have to ask, why haven't you confronted your husband about this?" "Most people would want immediate answers." "Because I want to be smart about this," Zara replied. "If I confront him now, he might panic and do something desperate. I need to protect my assets first, then gather enough evidence to make sure he can't hurt me or anyone else." Robert nodded approvingly. "That's very wise. Too many people act on emotion and end up making their situation worse. Give me 48 hours and I'll have a complete background on Nicole and a timeline of their relationship." After leaving the investigator's office, Zara drove to downtown to meet with Patricia Green, a lawyer who specialized in financial crimes and divorce cases. Patricia's reputation for being ruthless in court was exactly what Zara needed. "Your husband is planning to commit several serious crimes," Patricia explained after reviewing the evidence. "Identity theft, wire fraud, embezzlement, and possibly money laundering. The fact that he's been drugging you without your consent could also be considered assault." "What can we do to protect my assets?" Zara asked. "First, we need to move your money into accounts that he can't access. I can help you set up a trust that will be completely separate from your marital assets. Then we document everything and wait for him to actually attempt the theft before we involve law enforcement." "Wait for him? Why not stop him now?" Patricia smiled grimly. "Because right now all we have evidence of is planning. But if we let him actually attempt to steal your money, we have him on federal crimes that carry serious prison time. He'll lose everything and you'll be able to recover damages." The plan was risky, but Zara understood the logic. By letting Brandon think he was succeeding, they could build an airtight case against him. That afternoon, while Brandon was still at work, Zara went to her bank and began the process of protecting her assets. She moved her savings into the trust account Patricia had set up, leaving just enough in her regular accounts to make everything look normal. She also changed all her passwords and security codes, making sure to write down fake ones in places where Brandon might find them. If he was going to steal her information, she would make sure it was worthless. When Brandon came home that evening with another cup of special tea, Zara was ready for him. "You're so good to me," she said, accepting the cup. "I don't know what I'd do without you." "You'll never have to find out," Brandon replied, and the lie rolled off his tongue so easily it made Zara sick. Once again she pretended to drink the tea and fall asleep. Once again she watched him rifle through her things and take photos. But this time she was recording everything on her phone, which she had hidden in the bedside table drawer. Brandon's conversation with Nicole that night revealed even more of their plan. "I got her new passwords," he told his mistress. We can start moving the bigger amounts tomorrow. The account in the Bahamas is ready, right? Yes, everything's set up. Nicole's voice came through clearly on speakerphone. I've scheduled the transfers to look like routine business payments. No one will notice anything until it's too late. Perfect. By Friday we'll have everything. Then we can disappear and start our new life together. I can't wait, Nicole said. I'm so tired of pretending to be your friend's wife when we're together in public. Zara's blood went cold. Nicole wasn't just some random woman Brandon had met. She was someone Zara knew. Someone who had been in their home, who had eaten at their table, who had smiled in Zara's face while planning to destroy her life. After Brandon finished his call and went to sleep, Zara snuck into the bathroom and called Robert Chin. I need you to rush that investigation, she whispered. Nicole isn't just my husband's mistress. She's someone I know personally. I'll have answers for you tomorrow morning, Robert promised. Meet me at my office at 9 a.m. Zara barely slept that night. Every time she looked at Brandon sleeping peacefully beside her, she felt sick. How could someone fake love so completely? How could he kiss her goodnight knowing he was planning to destroy her life in the morning? But her sadness was quickly being replaced by something much more powerful. Brandon and Nicole thought they were so smart, so much cleverer than everyone else. They thought they could drug her, steal from her, and disappear without consequences. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The next morning, Robert Chen's report confirmed Zara's worst fears. Nicole Patterson worked at First National Bank in the wire transfer department. She had been Brandon's mistress for 2 years and 3 months. And most shocking of all, she was married to Tom Patterson, one of Brandon's best friends and Zara's business associate. Nicole wasn't just betraying Zara. She was betraying her own husband too. There's more, Robert said, showing Zara surveillance photos of Brandon and Nicole together. They've been meeting at a hotel every Tuesday and Thursday for over 2 years. They've also opened joint accounts in both their names and have been moving small amounts of money from various sources. Various sources? Zara asked. It looks like your husband isn't just planning to steal from you. He's been embezzling money from his own company for months. And Nicole has been helping him move it through fake accounts. Zara stared at the photos of Brandon and Nicole kissing in hotel parking lots, holding hands at restaurants, looking like a happy couple while they both lived double lives. How much money are we talking about? She asked. From his company alone? Nearly $200,000. Combined with what they're planning to steal from you, they're looking at over $3 million. The scope of their betrayal was staggering. This wasn't just about her marriage or her money. Brandon and Nicole were career criminals who had been systematically stealing from multiple victims. What do you recommend? Zara asked. Robert smiled. We let them hang themselves. With Patricia Green's help, we set up a trap that will catch them in the act of committing federal crimes. Then we make sure they pay for everything they've done. For the first time since discovering Brandon's betrayal, Zara smiled too. She had been thinking too small. This wasn't just about getting revenge on her cheating husband. This was about making sure 2 criminals never had the chance to hurt anyone else again. Patricia Green's law office felt like a war room as Zara, Robert, and the attorney mapped out their strategy. The mahogany conference table was covered with bank statements, photographs, and legal documents, all evidence of Brandon and Nicole's crimes. The key is timing, Patricia explained, pointing to a timeline they had created. We need to let them actually attempt the theft before we can charge them with the serious crimes. But we also need to make sure you don't lose a penny in the process. How do we do that? Zara asked. We've already moved your real assets into the trust. Now we need to create fake accounts with just enough money to make their theft attempt look successful, while secretly recording everything they do. Robert leaned forward. I've been tracking their movements for the past week. Every Tuesday and Thursday, Brandon leaves his office at lunch and meets Nicole at the Marriott downtown. They spend exactly 2 hours together, then return to their respective jobs. Tomorrow is Thursday, Zara said, an idea forming in her mind. What if we set up surveillance in their hotel room? Patricia shook her head. That would be illegal without their consent. But what we can do is monitor their communications and financial transactions. Nicole's position at the bank gives us a unique opportunity. She pulled out a stack of papers. I have a contact at First National who's been suspicious about irregular transfers in Nicole's department. With the evidence we have, they're willing to cooperate with law enforcement to catch her in the act. What about Brandon's company? Zara asked. Robert said he's been stealing from them too. I reached out to his supervisor this morning, Robert said. They've been noticing discrepancies in their accounts for months but couldn't figure out where the money was going. When I showed them the evidence, they immediately agreed to help us catch him. Zara felt a surge of satisfaction. Brandon thought he was so clever, but he had left a trail of victims who were all eager to see him brought to justice. So what's our next step? She asked. Tonight, you go home and act completely normal, Patricia said. Let Brandon drug your tea and go through your things. But this time we'll have the FBI monitoring all the fake accounts we've set up. The moment he or Nicole tries to transfer money, we'll have them on federal wire fraud charges. The FBI? Zara's eyes widened. Once we involve interstate banking and amounts over $100,000, this becomes a federal case, Patricia explained. Brandon and Nicole aren't just looking at divorce court. They're looking at federal prison. Robert handed Zara a small device that looked like a phone charger. This is a recording device. Plug it into the wall outlet in your bedroom. It will capture everything that happens in that room, including Brandon's phone calls. Is this legal? Zara asked. It's your bedroom in your house, Patricia said. You have every right to record what happens there. And since Brandon is committing crimes against you, anything we capture will be admissible in court. That afternoon, Zara returned home and went through her normal routine, all while knowing that tomorrow would change everything. She cooked dinner, did some work, and even managed to smile when Brandon walked through the door with flowers and another cup of drugged tea. What's the occasion? She asked, accepting the roses. Do I need an occasion to bring my wife flowers? Brandon said, kissing her cheek. The gesture that once would have made her happy now made her skin crawl. You're so sweet, Zara said, forcing herself to sound loving. I'm so lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one, Brandon replied, and she could see the guilt flash across his face for just a moment before he composed himself. During dinner, Zara watched Brandon carefully. Now that she knew the truth, she could see all the signs she had missed before. The way he checked his phone constantly. The way he asked seemingly innocent questions about her work and her finances. The way he encouraged her to drink more tea. You seem tired tonight, he said, refilling her cup. Maybe you should get some extra sleep. You're probably right, Zara said, pretending to yawn. I have been feeling drowsy lately. I wonder if I'm getting sick. It's probably just stress, Brandon said quickly. Running a business is exhausting. You should take better care of yourself. The concern in his voice sounded so genuine that for a moment, Zara almost forgot he was acting. Brandon had been lying to her for so long that deception came naturally to him. That night, as she pretended to fall asleep from the drugged tea, Zara felt strangely calm. Tomorrow, Brandon would try to steal everything from her. Tomorrow, he would discover that his victim had been 3 steps ahead of him all along. Through barely open eyes, she watched him go through her purse and photograph the fake documents she had planted. She listened as he called Nicole and confirmed their final plans. Tomorrow's the day, he told his mistress. I have all her new account information. We can transfer everything and be gone by the weekend. I'm nervous, Nicole's voice came through the phone. What if something goes wrong? Nothing will go wrong, Brandon assured her. Zara has no idea what's happening. She trusts me completely. By the time she wakes up tomorrow afternoon, we'll have disappeared with over $3 million. I love you, Nicole said. I can't wait to start our new life together. I love you too. No more sneaking around, no more pretending to care about people we can't stand. Tomorrow we'll be free. After Brandon finished his call and went to sleep, Zara allowed herself to feel the full weight of his betrayal. He didn't just want her money. He wanted to destroy her completely and disappear, leaving her with nothing but the knowledge that the man she loved had never existed. But as she lay there in the darkness, Zara smiled. Brandon thought tomorrow would be the day he won. Instead, it would be the day he lost everything. She had spent her entire adult life building a successful business from nothing. She had overcome obstacles that would have stopped most people. She had learned to fight for what she wanted and never give up. Brandon was about to discover that he had picked the wrong woman to betray. Friday morning arrived gray and cloudy, matching Zara's mood as she prepared for what she knew would be the most important day of her life. Brandon was unusually cheerful at breakfast, humming while he made coffee and checking his phone every few minutes. You seem happy today, Zara observed, watching him carefully. Just excited about the weekend, Brandon said, not meeting her eyes. I thought we could go away somewhere. Maybe that bed and breakfast you mentioned. Zara's heart clenched. Even now, on the day he planned to steal everything from her, Brandon was still lying. Still pretending to be the loving husband who wanted to spend romantic weekends with her. That sounds wonderful, she said, forcing a smile. Should I pack a bag? Not yet. I have some business to take care of first. But by tonight everything will be Settled. The way he said settled made Zara's blood run cold. He was talking about her life like it was a business transaction that would be completed by the end of the day. After Brandon left for work, Zara met with Patricia and Robert at the lawyer's office for final preparations. The FBI is in position, Patricia reported. They have surveillance on Nicole at the bank and on Brandon at his office. The moment either of them tries to access your fake accounts, we'll have them. What about their hotel room? Zara asked. We can't bug it, but we have agents watching from across the street. If they meet there today to celebrate their success, we'll know about it. Robert handed Zara an earpiece. This will let you hear everything that's happening in real time. You'll know the moment they make their move. Are you sure you want to do this? Patricia asked. It's going to be emotionally difficult to listen to your husband committing crimes against you. I'm sure, Zara said firmly. I need to hear it for myself. I need to know exactly what kind of man I married. At 10 a.m., Zara sat in Patricia's office with the earpiece in place, listening as FBI agents reported on Brandon and Nicole's movements. Subject B is at his computer, accessing what appears to be banking websites, came the first report. Subject N is at her workstation at First National, pulling up transfer forms. Zara's hands clenched into fists. It was really happening. After years of marriage, Brandon was actually trying to steal everything from her. Subject B has entered the first account number, the agent reported. He's attempting to transfer $250,000 to an offshore account. Patricia squeezed Zara's shoulder. Remember, the account he's accessing only has a few $100s in it. Your real money is completely safe. But the betrayal still hurt like a physical pain in Zara's chest. Even knowing it was fake, watching Brandon try to steal from her was devastating. Transfer denied, insufficient funds, came the next report. Subject B appears confused. He's trying the second account number now. Subject N is on the phone, another agent reported. She's calling Subject B. Through the earpiece, Zara could hear Nicole's panicked voice. Something's wrong, Nicole was telling Brandon. The transfer was rejected. The account shows less than $500. That's impossible, Brandon's voice came through clearly. I saw her bank statements. She had over $800,000 in that account last week. Well, it's not there now. Did she move it? Does she know about our plan? Zara could hear the fear in both their voices as their perfect crime started to fall apart. No way, Brandon said firmly. She's been drugged every night. She has no idea what's happening. She probably just moved money around for business reasons. What do we do now? Nicole asked. Try her business accounts. I have those numbers too. Zara listened as Brandon tried to access her fake business accounts, only to find the same result. Every account he tried had almost no money in it. This doesn't make sense, Brandon said, and Zara could hear the panic building in his voice. Where did all her money go? Maybe she's hiding assets, Nicole suggested. Maybe she suspected something and moved everything. No, Brandon said angrily. She trusts me completely. She would never hide money from me. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so painful. Brandon was angry that his victim might not trust him, while he was actively trying to rob her. We have motion at the hotel, another agent reported. Both subjects are heading to the Marriott for their usual meeting. Patricia looked at Zara. Do you want to keep listening? Yes, Zara said firmly. I want to hear everything. An hour later, the agents had set up surveillance outside the hotel room where Brandon and Nicole were meeting. Through powerful listening devices, they could hear every word of the conversation inside. I don't understand what went wrong, Nicole was saying. I had everything set up perfectly. The offshore accounts, the fake business transfers, everything. She must have moved the money, Brandon said. But when? And where? What if she knows about us? Nicole asked, her voice shaking with fear. Impossible, Brandon said, but he didn't sound as confident as before. I've been drugging her tea every night. She's been completely out of it. There's no way she could have figured anything out. Then where is the money, Brandon? $3 million doesn't just disappear. I don't know. Brandon shouted, and Zara could hear him pacing around the hotel room. Maybe she has other accounts I don't know about. Maybe she's been hiding money from me. This is a disaster, Nicole said, and Zara could hear her crying. What if we get caught? What if someone figures out what we've been trying to do? Nobody's going to figure anything out, Brandon said, but his voice was shaky. We just need to find where she moved the money. I'll search the house tonight, go through all her papers. What about my job? I accessed all those accounts today. If anyone reviews the logs, they'll see what I was trying to do. Then we need to move fast, Brandon said. We'll find her money tonight and disappear this weekend. By Monday we'll be in another country. Zara had heard enough. She pulled out the earpiece and looked at Patricia. How much evidence do we have? More than enough, Patricia said with satisfaction. Attempted wire fraud, conspiracy, identity theft, and that's just from today. Combined with the evidence of Brandon embezzling from his company and the drugging, they're looking at serious federal prison time. When do we arrest them? Zara asked. Right now, Patricia said, picking up her phone. FBI, this is Patricia Green. You have authorization to arrest both subjects immediately. Through the window of the law office, Zara could see FBI vehicles racing down the street toward the hotel. In just a few minutes, Brandon and Nicole's world would come crashing down. There's one more thing you should know, Robert said quietly. Tom Patterson, Nicole's husband, has been asking questions about her behavior lately. He hired his own private investigator last week. He knows about the affair? Zara asked. He suspects something. And when he finds out what his wife has been doing, he's going to be just as angry as you are. Zara felt a surge of sympathy for Tom. Like her, he had been living with someone who was lying to him every day. Like her, he was about to discover that his marriage had been built on deception. Should we tell him what's happening? She asked. The FBI will contact him as part of their investigation, Patricia said. He has a right to know that his wife is about to be arrested for federal crimes. Zara's phone buzzed with a text message from Brandon. Working late tonight. Don't wait up for me. Even now, even as FBI agents were probably walking up to his hotel room door, Brandon was still lying to her. They're in custody, Patricia announced, hanging up her phone. Both Brandon and Nicole have been arrested. They're being taken to federal holding for processing. Zara felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Relief that the nightmare was finally over, but sadness that her marriage had come to this. Despite everything Brandon had done, part of her still remembered the man she thought she had fallen in love with. What happens now? She asked. Now we make sure they pay for what they've done, Patricia said firmly. And we make sure you get back everything they tried to steal from you. As Zara drove home that evening, she realized that for the first time in weeks, she wasn't afraid. She wasn't wondering what Brandon was planning or when he would try to hurt her next. She was free. The house felt different when she walked in, lighter somehow, like a dark cloud had been lifted. She made herself dinner without worrying about hidden drugs in her food. She drank water from the tap without fear of being poisoned. Her phone rang around 8 p.m. It was Patricia. I thought you should know, the lawyer said. Brandon and Nicole both tried to make phone calls from jail. Brandon tried to call you and Nicole tried to call her husband. Both calls were recorded. What did they say? Zara asked. Brandon claimed he was innocent and begged you to bail him out. He said it was all a misunderstanding and that he would explain everything if you just came to see him. Zara laughed bitterly. Still lying even from jail. Nicole's call was more interesting, Patricia continued. She told her husband that she had been framed and that she needed him to hire a lawyer for her. She didn't mention the affair or the fact that she's been stealing money. Is he going to help her? According to my contacts, Tom Patterson hung up on her after the FBI explained what she had been arrested for. He's filing for divorce tomorrow morning. Zara felt satisfied knowing that Nicole's betrayal was costing her everything, just like it almost had for Zara. The difference was that Zara had been smart enough to fight back. As she prepared for bed that night without any drug tea, Zara reflected on how much her life had changed. A week ago, she had been a trusting wife who believed her husband loved her. Tonight, she was a woman who had outsmarted two criminals and prevented them from destroying her life. She had learned something important about herself through this ordeal. She was stronger than she had ever imagined. She was smarter than people gave her credit for. And she was definitely not someone who would go down without a fight. Brandon and Nicole had thought they could manipulate her, steal from her, and disappear. Instead, they were sitting in federal prison while she was free and her assets were protected. Tomorrow would bring court hearings and legal proceedings. But tonight, Zara Williams slept peacefully for the first time in months, knowing that justice was finally being served. Saturday morning brought a peace that Zara hadn't felt in months. For the first time since discovering Brandon's betrayal, she woke up in her own bed without fear, without wondering what lies her husband would tell her that day. Brandon was in federal custody, and the house finally felt like her home again. Patricia called early with updates on the legal proceedings. Both Brandon and Nicole were denied bail, the lawyer reported. The judge considered them flight risks given the offshore accounts and their plans to flee the country. They'll remain in custody until their trial. How long until the trial? Zara asked. With all the evidence we have, probably 6 to 8 months. But there's something else you need to know. Brandon's company is filing criminal charges against him for embezzlement, and the bank is pressing charges against Nicole for fraud and breach of fiduciary duty. Good, Zara said firmly. They should face consequences for everything they've done. There's more. The FBI found evidence that this wasn't their first time. They've been running similar scams for the past 3 years, targeting wealthy individuals through fake relationships and inside banking connections. Zara's blood ran cold. You mean I wasn't their first victim? No, you were just their biggest target. They've stolen over $500,000 from at least 6 other people. The FBI is reopening all those cases now. The scope of Brandon and Nicole's crimes was staggering. They weren't just cheating spouses, they were career criminals who had been destroying lives for years. What about the other victims? Zara asked. Most of them never recovered their money because they didn't have the evidence we collected. But with Brandon and Nicole in custody, they'll finally get justice. That afternoon, Tom Patterson called Zara directly. His voice was shaky with emotion when she answered. Zara, I just wanted to thank you, he said. If you hadn't caught them, I might never have known what Nicole was doing. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, Zara replied. I know how much it hurts. The FBI told me about everything. The affair, the money laundering, the plans to disappear. I feel like such a fool for not seeing the signs. You're not a fool, Tom. They were very good at lying. They fooled a lot of people. What are you going to do now? Tom asked. I'm going to rebuild, Zara said simply. I'm going to take everything they tried to steal from me and use it to make sure this never happens to anyone else. What do you mean? I'm starting a foundation to help people who've been victims of financial fraud. I want to make sure other people have the resources to fight back the way I did. Tom was quiet for a moment. That's really admirable. After what they put you through, most people would just want to forget and move on. I can't forget, Zara said. But I can make sure their crimes serve a purpose. If my experience can help other people avoid the same trap, then something good will come from all this pain. After she hung up with Tom, Zara spent the rest of the weekend going through her house and removing every trace of Brandon from her life. She packed up his clothes, his personal items, and anything that reminded her of their fake marriage. In his closet, she found more evidence of his deception. Hidden behind his winter coats was a box containing fake identification documents, prepaid credit cards, and a passport with Brandon's photo but a different name. She immediately called Robert Chin to report the discovery. This proves they were planning to disappear completely, Robert said after examining the fake documents. With new identities, they could have started this scam all over again in another country. How many more people would they have hurt? Zara asked. Dozens, probably. You didn't just save yourself, Zara. You saved all their future victims too. Monday morning brought a meeting with the FBI agents handling the case. Agent Sarah Mitchell and Agent Kevin Rodriguez had been tracking Brandon and Nicole for months as part of a larger investigation into financial fraud rings. Your evidence broke the case wide open, Agent Mitchell explained. Without your recordings and documentation, we might never have been able to prove their crimes. What will happen to them now? Zara asked. Brandon is looking at 15 to 20 years in federal prison for wire fraud, embezzlement, identity theft, and conspiracy. Nicole is facing similar charges, plus additional banking violations that could add another 10 years. And the other victims? We're working with prosecutors to file charges for all their previous crimes. With the evidence you provided, we can finally give those victims justice. Agent Rodriguez leaned forward. There's something else. We found communications suggesting that Brandon and Nicole were part of a larger network of scammers. We're hoping you'll consider helping us catch the other members. What would that involve? Zara asked. Testifying at their trials, sharing your story publicly to help other victims come forward. It won't be easy, but it could prevent a lot of people from being hurt. Zara didn't hesitate. I'll do whatever it takes. That afternoon, Zara met with her business partners to discuss the impact of the attempted theft on her company. She had been dreading this conversation, worried that the scandal might hurt her professional reputation. Instead, she found overwhelming support. We're just grateful you caught them before they could do any real damage, said her business partner Jennifer. And frankly, the way you handled this situation shows exactly why we trust you with our investments. You could have panicked, confronted Brandon immediately and lost everything, added her partner Michael. Instead, you were strategic and smart. That's the kind of leadership we need. Zara felt a surge of pride. She had worried that Brandon's betrayal would make people question her judgment. Instead, her response to the crisis had proven her strength and intelligence. I want to be transparent about everything that happened, Zara said. I'm also planning to start a foundation to help other fraud victims. I hope you'll support that effort. Absolutely, Jennifer said immediately. In fact, I think we should make this company's first major charitable contribution. By the end of the week, word of Brandon's arrest had spread through their social circle. Zara braced herself for gossip and judgment, but instead found an outpouring of support from friends and colleagues. Many people shared their own stories of betrayal and deception, thanking Zara for her courage in fighting back. Several women approached her privately to ask for advice about suspicious behavior from their own partners. You've inspired a lot of people, Patricia told her during their weekly update meeting. I've had 3 new clients this week, all women who decided to investigate their husbands after hearing your story. Did they find anything? Zara asked. 2 of them did. Affairs, hidden debts, secret gambling problems. You've helped them protect themselves before it was too late. Zara felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Her nightmare was becoming a source of strength and protection for other women. As she drove home that Friday evening, Zara realized that she felt truly happy for the first time in months. Not just relieved that the danger was over, but genuinely excited about her future. She had taken the worst betrayal of her life and turned it into an opportunity to help others. She had discovered reserves of strength and intelligence she didn't know she possessed. She had learned that she could trust herself, even when she couldn't trust anyone else. Brandon had tried to steal her money, her business, and her future. Instead, he had given her something much more valuable: the knowledge that she was strong enough to survive anything. 3 weeks after Brandon's arrest, Zara received an unexpected phone call from Agent Mitchell. The FBI had intercepted communications from Brandon's jail cell that revealed another layer to his criminal activities. He's been trying to contact other members of his fraud network, Agent Mitchell explained during an emergency meeting at Patricia's office. We think he's planning something from prison. What kind of something? Zara asked, feeling a familiar chill of fear. He's been telling people that you framed him, that you're the real criminal. He's trying to convince his associates to retaliate against you. Patricia leaned forward. What kind of retaliation? We're not sure yet, but we've intercepted references to finishing the job and making her pay. We think his criminal network might try to steal from you the way Brandon couldn't. Zara felt her carefully rebuilt sense of security crumble. So this isn't over? We're going to catch them, Agent Rodriguez assured her. But we need your help to do it safely. The plan they outlined was risky but necessary. The FBI wanted Zara to act as bait, allowing Brandon's associates to attempt their theft while agents monitored everything. We'll set up fake accounts again just like before, Agent Mitchell explained. But this time, we'll let them think they're succeeding while we trace their methods and identify all the members of their network. What if something goes wrong? Zara asked. What if they succeed? They won't, Patricia said firmly. We've learned from the Brandon situation. This time, we'll have multiple layers of protection for your real assets. That evening, Zara sat in her living room trying to process the news that her ordeal wasn't over. Just when she thought she was safe, Brandon's criminal network was coming after her. But as she reflected on everything she had survived, Zara realized she wasn't afraid anymore. She was angry. These criminals thought they could intimidate her, steal from her, destroy her life because some man in prison told them to. They thought she was an easy target because she was a woman, because she had been betrayed before. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The next morning, Zara called Agent Mitchell. I'll do it. I'll help you catch them all. Are you sure? It could be dangerous. I'm sure, Zara said firmly. But I have some conditions. What kind of conditions? I want to be involved in every step of the planning. I want to know exactly what's happening and when. And I want guarantees that when this is over, Brandon's entire network will be destroyed. Done, Agent Mitchell said. When do we start? The setup took 2 weeks. The FBI created an elaborate fake financial profile for Zara, making it appear that she had inherited millions of dollars from a recently deceased relative. They leaked this information through channels they knew Brandon's associates monitored. Meanwhile, Zara continued her normal routine, going to work and meeting with clients while FBI agents provided discreet protection. She also continued developing plans for her foundation, using her experience to create resources that would help other fraud victims. The first contact came on a Tuesday morning. Zara received a phone call from someone claiming to be a lawyer representing Brandon. "Mrs. Williams, my name is Charles Anderson," the caller said in a smooth, professional voice. "I represent your husband in his current legal difficulties." "Brandon isn't my husband anymore," Zara said coldly. "I filed for divorce the day he was arrested. Of course, I understand you're upset. But I think there may have been some misunderstandings about what actually happened. I'd like to meet with you to discuss a settlement that could benefit both parties." Zara knew immediately that this wasn't a real lawyer. A legitimate attorney would never contact her directly about Brandon's case. This was one of his criminal associates trying to get close to her. "I'm not interested in any settlement," she said. "Brandon stole from me and tried to destroy my life. I hope he rots in prison." "I understand your anger," Charles said smoothly. "But consider this, wouldn't you rather have your money back than see Brandon in prison? What if I told you there was a way to recover everything he took, plus additional compensation for your suffering?" Zara pretended to consider this. "What kind of additional compensation?" "Substantial. 7 figures, possibly 8. All we need is some cooperation from you." "What kind of cooperation?" "Nothing illegal, I assure you. We just need access to certain accounts to process the recovery. It's quite technical, but I can explain everything when we meet." Zara scheduled a meeting for the following day, immediately reporting the conversation to the FBI. Agents would be monitoring everything, ready to arrest Charles the moment he attempted any criminal activity. The meeting took place at an upscale restaurant downtown. Charles Anderson turned out to be a well-dressed man in his 50s with silver hair and an expensive suit. He looked exactly like what central casting would order for a trustworthy lawyer. "Thank you for meeting with me," Charles said, shaking Zara's hand. "I know this situation has been difficult for you." "Difficult is an understatement," Zara replied. "My husband tried to steal my life savings and run away with another woman. Yes, that was unfortunate. But I believe we can make this right. The people I represent have recovered the money Brandon stole, plus additional funds from other sources." "What other sources?" Zara asked. Charles leaned forward conspiratorially. "Let's just say Brandon wasn't the only one involved in questionable financial activities. When the authorities shut down his operation, they recovered funds from multiple sources. Much more than Brandon alone could have stolen." This was clearly a lie, but Zara played along. "How much money are we talking about?" "For you? Approximately $3.2 million. That's what Brandon took from you, plus punitive damages." "That sounds too good to be true. I understand your skepticism. But I can arrange for you to see the funds yourself. All I need is your banking information so we can transfer everything to your accounts." And there it was, the same scam Brandon had tried to pull, just with a different approach. Charles wanted her banking information so he could steal from her accounts. "I'll need to think about it," Zara said. "This is a lot to process." "Of course. But I should mention that this offer is time sensitive. The funds are currently in a holding account that will be seized by federal authorities if we don't move them soon." Classic scammer pressure tactics. Create urgency to prevent the victim from thinking clearly. "How long do I have?" Zara asked. 72 hours. After that, the window closes permanently. That evening, Zara met with the FBI team to plan their next move. "He's definitely part of Brandon's network," Agent Mitchell confirmed. "We've been tracking Charles Anderson for months. His real name is Charles Winters, and he's wanted in 3 states for financial fraud." "What's our next step?" Zara asked. "You're going to agree to his proposal. We'll set up fake accounts for him to access just like we did with Brandon. But this time, we're going to trace every member of his network before we make arrests." "How many people are we talking about?" "At least a dozen, possibly more. This is a sophisticated operation that's been running scams like this for years. Your case is going to help us shut down the entire network." Zara felt a surge of pride. What had started as a personal betrayal was turning into a major victory against organized crime. The next day she called Charles and agreed to his proposal. Within hours he had provided her with detailed instructions for transferring her inheritance into the recovery account. Of course, the inheritance was fake, the recovery account was controlled by the FBI, and Charles was about to walk into a trap that would destroy his entire criminal organization. But he didn't know that yet. For the next 48 hours, Zara watched as the FBI traced connections from Charles to criminals across the country. They identified money launderers in Miami, fake identity creators in Las Vegas, and recruitment specialists in New York. On Friday morning, the FBI struck simultaneously in 6 cities, arresting 14 people connected to the fraud network. Charles Winters was arrested in his hotel room, along with 2 associates who had been planning to disappear with Zara's fake inheritance. "It's over," Agent Mitchell told Zara that afternoon. "Brandon's entire network has been destroyed. They'll never hurt anyone again." Zara felt a deep sense of satisfaction. She had gone from victim to victor, from target to the weapon that brought down an entire criminal organization. But more than that, she had discovered something important about herself. She wasn't just strong enough to survive betrayal, she was strong enough to fight back and win. The day of Brandon's arraignment arrived with unseasonably bright sunshine, as if the world itself was celebrating the exposure of his crimes. Zara sat in the federal courthouse wearing her best business suit, feeling more confident than she had in months. Patricia sat beside her, briefing her on what to expect. "Brandon will try to make eye contact with you," the lawyer warned. "He'll probably try to look repentant, maybe even mouth, 'I'm sorry.' Don't let him manipulate you." "I won't," Zara said firmly. "I know exactly who he is now." When Brandon was led into the courtroom in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs, Zara was shocked by how different he looked. The confident, charming man she had married was gone, replaced by someone who looked desperate and broken. Their eyes met across the courtroom, and Brandon did exactly what Patricia had predicted. He mouthed, "I'm sorry," and tried to look like a remorseful husband who had made a terrible mistake. But Zara felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no sympathy. Looking at Brandon now was like looking at a stranger who had briefly been part of her life. When the prosecutor read the charges against him, the list seemed to go on forever. Wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, embezzlement, money laundering, and dozens of other crimes spanning multiple years and states. "Mr. Carter," the judge said, using Brandon's real last name, something else Zara discovered had been a lie. "How do you plead to these charges?" Brandon's lawyer whispered something in his ear before he answered. "Not guilty, Your Honor." Zara almost laughed. Even now, even with overwhelming evidence against him, Brandon was still lying. After the arraignment, Brandon's lawyer approached Zara in the courthouse hallway. "Mrs. Williams, my client would like to speak with you privately. He has something important to tell you." "I'm not interested," Zara said immediately. "He says he can help you recover money you don't even know is missing. Money that other members of his organization stole from you." Patricia stepped forward. "My client has no interest in speaking with your client. If he has information about other crimes, he can share that with federal prosecutors." "This is different," the lawyer insisted. "Personal. Between husband and wife." "They're divorced," Patricia said coldly. "And any communication between them needs to go through official channels." But something about the lawyer's words nagged at Zara. Money she didn't know was missing? What did that mean? That evening she called Agent Mitchell to ask about it. "It's possible," the agent admitted. "Brandon's network was sophisticated. They might have been skimming small amounts from your accounts for months without you noticing." "How is that possible?" "I monitor my finances carefully. Microtransactions. A few dollars here and there, amounts so small they'd be easy to miss. Over time it could add up to thousands." Zara felt sick. How long had these criminals been stealing from her? How many other ways had they violated her life? "Do you think I should talk to him?" she asked. "That's up to you. But if you do, make sure it's in a controlled environment with prosecutors present. And remember, everything Brandon says could be a lie designed to manipulate you." After much consideration, Zara decided to hear what Brandon had to say. But she would do it on her terms, with witnesses present and recording everything. The meeting was arranged for the following week at the federal building, with prosecutors and FBI agents monitoring everything. Brandon sat across from Zara at a metal table, looking smaller and more pathetic than she remembered. "Thank you for coming," he said quietly. "I wasn't sure you would." "Talk," Zara said coldly. "I don't have time for games." Brandon took a deep breath. "I know you hate me. I know you'll never forgive me. But I need you to know that I did love you, at least at first." "Is that what you wanted to tell me? Because I already know that's a lie." "It's not a lie," Brandon insisted. "When we first met, I wasn't planning to hurt you. I was just supposed to get close to you for information about your business clients." Zara's blood went cold. "What do you mean, supposed to?" "The organization I worked for targets successful women in business. They have us develop relationships to gain access to their networks and financial information." "So our entire relationship was fake from the beginning?" Brandon looked down at his hands. "At first, yes. But I really did start to care about you. For a while, I thought about leaving the organization and starting over with you. But you didn't." "I couldn't. They had too much control over me. Too much leverage. If I had tried to leave, they would have destroyed both of us. So instead you decided to destroy me yourself. I thought if I could just get enough money we could both disappear together. Start fresh somewhere else. Zara laughed bitterly. With Nicole? Were you planning to start fresh with both of us? Brandon winced. Nicole was never supposed to be anything more than a business partner. But things got complicated. Complicated? Zara repeated. Is that what you call lying to two women and planning to steal everything from both of them? I made mistakes, Brandon said desperately. Horrible mistakes. But I'm trying to make them right now. By telling me about money I don't know is missing? Brandon nodded. They've been taking small amounts from your accounts for over a year. Maybe $20,000 or $30,000 total. If you work with the prosecutors, I can help you recover it. In exchange for what? A lighter sentence. Maybe witness protection instead of prison. There it was. Brandon wasn't trying to help her out of guilt or love. He was trying to make a deal to save himself. No, Zara said firmly. What? No deal. You don't get to steal my money, betray my trust, and then negotiate your way out of consequences. But the money. I don't care about the money, Zara said, standing up. 20,000, 30,000, that's nothing compared to what you tried to steal. And it's nothing compared to what you did steal from me. What do you mean? You stole years of my life, Brandon. You stole my ability to trust people. You stole my sense of security in my own home. You stole my faith in love and marriage. No amount of money can give that back. Brandon looked genuinely surprised, as if he had never considered the emotional damage he had caused. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I know that doesn't mean anything now, but I am truly sorry. You're sorry you got caught, Zara corrected. If your plan had worked, you'd be on a beach somewhere with Nicole, laughing about how easy it was to fool me. That's not true. It is true, Zara interrupted. And you know what? I'm glad it happened. Brandon stared at her in shock. What? I'm glad you betrayed me. I'm glad I found out what kind of person you really are. Because now I know what I'm capable of when someone tries to destroy me. Zara. I'm stronger than you ever imagined. I'm smarter than you gave me credit for. And I'm successful enough to rebuild anything you tried to tear down. Zara leaned across the table, her voice steady and calm. You thought I was weak. You thought I was naive. You thought I would never fight back. But I didn't just fight back, I won. You're in prison, your network is destroyed, and I'm free. Please, Brandon said desperately. I can help you recover more money. I can give you information about other victims. The FBI already has all the information they need, Zara said, standing to leave. They don't need anything from you. As she reached the door, Zara turned back one last time. You know what the saddest part is, Brandon? If you had actually loved me, if you had been honest with me from the beginning, I would have given you anything you wanted. I would have shared everything I had. I know, Brandon said, tears running down his face. I know, and I'm sorry. But now you get nothing. Nothing but the consequences of your choices. Walking out of that room, Zara felt like she was shedding the last remnants of her old life. The woman who had trusted Brandon, who had believed in their marriage, who had been vulnerable to his manipulation, that woman was gone. In her place was someone stronger, wiser, and absolutely unbreakable. 6 months after Brandon's arrest, Zara sat in the same federal courthouse for his sentencing hearing. This time, she wasn't just an observer, she was there to deliver a victim impact statement that would help determine how long Brandon spent in prison. The courtroom was packed with other victims of Brandon's network, people whose lives had been destroyed by the same criminals who had tried to ruin Zara. She had met many of them during the investigation, and their stories had strengthened her resolve to see justice done. Patricia squeezed her hand as they waited for the proceedings to begin. Are you ready for this? I've been ready for months, Zara replied. The trial had been swift once all the evidence was presented. Brandon and Nicole both pled guilty to avoid longer sentences, and the other members of their network had followed suit. There was simply too much evidence to fight. When Judge Harrison called Zara to the stand, she walked forward with confidence. This was her moment to tell the world exactly what Brandon's crimes had cost her. Your Honor, she began, looking directly at the judge rather than at Brandon. When I married the man I knew as Brandon Williams, I thought I was marrying someone who loved me. Instead, I was marrying a career criminal who saw me as nothing more than a business opportunity. She outlined the systematic way Brandon had manipulated her, from the fake romance to the drug tea to the attempted theft of her life savings. But Your Honor, the financial damage was the least of what he took from me. He stole my ability to trust. He stole my sense of safety in my own home. He stole precious years of my life that I spent living a lie. Zara paused, finally looking at Brandon. He was staring at the table, unable to meet her eyes. However, I want the court to know that while the defendant tried to destroy me, he ultimately failed. Not only did I stop his crimes, but I used the experience to help dozens of other victims of financial fraud. She described the foundation she had started, the victims she had helped, and the new legislation she was working to support that would better protect people from financial predators. The defendant thought he was stealing my future. Instead, he gave me a new purpose. I am stronger because of what he tried to do to me. Finally, Zara looked directly at Brandon. I don't forgive you, but I do thank you. You showed me exactly how strong I am when someone tries to break me. When she finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. Several other victims gave their own statements, painting a picture of a criminal network that had destroyed lives across multiple states. Nicole's sentencing had taken place the week before. She received 12 years in federal prison and was ordered to pay restitution to all her victims. Her husband Tom had finalized their divorce and was working with prosecutors to recover assets she had hidden. Brandon's lawyer made a weak attempt to argue for leniency, claiming his client was remorseful and wanted to make amends. But the prosecutor's evidence was overwhelming. Mr. Carter, the prosecutor said, using Brandon's real name, has been running confidence schemes for over a decade. He has shown no genuine remorse, only regret at being caught. His crimes were calculated, systematic, and devastating to his victims. When Judge Harrison announced the sentence, Zara felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Brandon Carter, you are hereby sentenced to 18 years in federal prison without the possibility of parole for 15 years. You will also pay full restitution to all victims, estimated at $3.2 million. 18 years. Brandon would be in his 50s when he got out, assuming he served his full sentence. His criminal career was over. As Brandon was led away in handcuffs, he looked back at Zara one final time. She met his gaze steadily, feeling nothing but indifference. The man who had once held so much power over her life was now just another criminal facing the consequences of his choices. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded Zara asking for comments about the sentencing. I'm satisfied that justice has been served, she said simply. But more importantly, I hope this case sends a message to other criminals that their victims aren't as helpless as they think. Agent Mitchell approached her as the reporters dispersed. I wanted to personally thank you again. Your cooperation led to the largest financial fraud bust in this district's history. I'm just glad we could stop them from hurting anyone else, Zara replied. There's something else. The recovery of assets from Brandon's network exceeded our expectations. After restitution to all victims, there's going to be a substantial amount left over. What happens to it? Normally it would go to the federal treasury. But the prosecutor is recommending that it be donated to victim advocacy organizations. Specifically to your foundation. Zara was stunned. How much money are we talking about? Close to $2 million. Money that these criminals stole from innocent people, now being used to help other victims. It seems fitting. That evening, Zara hosted a dinner at her home for some of the other victims who had testified at the trial. The house that had once been a place of betrayal and fear was now filled with laughter and hope. To Zara, said Margaret Chin, an elderly woman who had lost her retirement savings to Brandon's network. For showing us all that we don't have to stay victims. To all of us, Zara corrected, raising her glass. For refusing to let criminals win. As her guests shared their stories of recovery and rebuilding, Zara reflected on how much her life had changed. A year ago she had been a trusting wife living a lie. Tonight, she was surrounded by strong, brave people who had turned their worst experiences into sources of strength. Her phone rang late that night. It was Tom Patterson. I saw the news about the sentencing, he said. 18 years. That's what he deserved. How are you doing? Zara asked. I know this has been hard on you too. Better than I expected, actually. The divorce is final, I've recovered most of the money Nicole stole, and I'm seeing a therapist who's helping me process everything. I'm glad. You deserve to be happy. So do you? I heard about the foundation getting that extra funding. That's amazing. It's more than I ever dreamed possible. We'll be able to help so many people. Nicole tried to contact me from prison last week, Tom said quietly. What did she want? To apologize, she said. To explain her side of the story. I didn't take the call. Good for you. I realized something through all this. Some people don't deserve forgiveness, at least not from the people they hurt the most. Maybe someday I'll forgive her for my own peace of mind, but she doesn't get to demand that from me. You're absolutely right, Zara agreed. Forgiveness is something we give ourselves, not something we owe to people who hurt us. After they hung up, Zara walked through her house, noting all the changes she had made. New furniture, new paint, new security system, everything designed to make the space truly hers. In her home office, she looked at the framed newspaper article about Brandon's sentencing. The headline read, "Local woman helps bust multi-million-dollar fraud ring." Below it was a photo of her leaving the courthouse, looking confident and strong. Next to the article was a letter from a woman in California who had read about Zara's case online. She had been suspicious of her boyfriend's financial requests and decided to investigate after hearing Zara's story. The investigation revealed that he was running a romance scam, and she had been able to protect herself before losing any money. "Your courage gave me courage," the woman had written. "Thank you for showing me that I could fight back." Zara had received dozens of similar letters over the past few months. Each one reminded her that her nightmare had served a purpose beyond her own healing. Her laptop chimed with an email from her foundation's director. They had just received approval for a new program that would provide free legal assistance to fraud victims who couldn't afford lawyers. The program would be funded entirely by the recovered assets from Brandon's network. As Zara prepared for bed that night, she thought about everything that had led to this moment. The drug tea that had started it all seemed like something from another lifetime. The woman who had pretended to sleep while her husband stole from her was gone, replaced by someone who would never again be anyone's victim. She had learned that strength wasn't about being invulnerable. It was about what you did when someone tried to break you. It was about getting back up, fighting back, and using your experience to protect others. Brandon had tried to steal her money, her business, and her future. Instead, he had given her something much more valuable, the knowledge that she was unbreakable. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new victims to help, new battles to fight. But tonight, Zara Williams slept peacefully in her own home, knowing that justice had been served and that she had turned her greatest betrayal into her greatest triumph. 1 year after Brandon's sentencing, Zara stood in the gleaming conference room of her new office building, looking out at the city skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows. The Williams Foundation for Financial Justice occupied 3 floors of the downtown building, with resources to help fraud victims across the entire region. "The quarterly numbers are incredible," reported her foundation director, James Cooper, as he spread financial reports across the conference table. "We've helped over 200 victims recover a total of $15 million in stolen assets." "And the prevention programs?" Zara asked. "Even better. Our educational workshops have reached over 5,000 people. We're getting reports from all over the country of people who avoided scams because they recognized the warning signs we taught them." Zara felt a deep sense of pride. What had started as personal revenge against Brandon had grown into something that was changing lives across the nation. Her phone buzzed with a text from Robert Chin, who now worked as the foundation's chief investigator. "Turn on Channel 7 News. You need to see this." Zara grabbed the remote and switched to the local news station. The reporter was standing outside a federal courthouse in Miami. In a case that started with a housewife's suspicions about her husband's late-night activities, federal agents today arrested the final members of what prosecutors are calling the largest romance scam network in U.S. history. The reporter went on to explain how Zara's case had provided the evidence needed to track down criminals operating across multiple countries. The arrest today represented the end of an investigation that had spanned 2 continents and resulted in the recovery of over $50 million. Mrs. Zara Williams, the victim who first exposed this network, has used her experience to start a foundation that has now helped hundreds of other fraud victims, the reporter concluded. James whistled low. $50 million. Do you realize how many people you've saved? We've saved, Zara corrected. This foundation is bigger than any one person. Her assistant knocked on the conference room door. "Ms. Williams? There's someone here to see you. She says it's about a case similar to yours. Send her in." The woman who entered looked exactly like Zara had a year ago, well-dressed, successful, but with the haunted look of someone whose world had been turned upside down. "Ms. Williams, my name is Rachel Thompson. I think my fiancé is trying to steal from me, and I don't know what to do." Zara gestured for Rachel to sit down. "Tell me everything." For the next hour, Rachel described a situation that was frighteningly familiar. A charming man who had swept her off her feet, subtle changes in her financial accounts, strange phone calls late at night. "I found your story online," Rachel said. "When I read about what happened to you, I realized I wasn't going crazy. Someone really is trying to hurt me." "You're not crazy," Zara assured her. "And you're not helpless. We're going to help you. By the end of the meeting, they had developed a plan to protect Rachel's assets and gather evidence against her fiancé. Zara watched the younger woman leave with a sense of purpose that reminded her of her own journey from victim to survivor. That evening, Zara attended the annual gala for victims' rights organizations. As she walked into the ballroom, she was struck by how different she felt from the last time she had attended a formal event. Then she had been Mrs. Brandon Williams, playing the role of supportive wife. Tonight, she was simply Zara Williams, Foundation President and Advocate for Justice. The keynote speaker was a federal prosecutor who had worked on several cases inspired by Zara's investigation. "Ladies and gentlemen," the prosecutor said, "I want to tell you about a woman who refused to be a victim. When she discovered that her husband was planning to steal everything from her, she didn't just protect herself, she fought back so effectively that she brought down an entire criminal network." Zara felt tears in her eyes as the prosecutor told her story to the audience of law enforcement officials, lawyers, and advocates. Zara Williams proved that victims can become victors, that individual courage can lead to systemic change, and that sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to stay down. When the prosecutor called Zara to the stage to receive an award for victim advocacy, the standing ovation seemed to last forever. "A year ago," Zara said into the microphone, "I thought my life was over. I thought the man I trusted had destroyed everything I had worked for. But I learned something important. They can steal your money, they can break your heart, but they can't steal your strength unless you let them." She looked out at the audience of people who had dedicated their lives to fighting for justice. "Every victim in this room has a choice. You can let what happened to you define you, or you can use what happened to you to help others. You can stay a victim, or you can become a champion for other victims." After the gala, Zara drove home through the quiet city streets. Her house looked different now, warmer, more welcoming. She had redecorated completely, turning it from a place of betrayal into a sanctuary of peace. In her kitchen, she made herself a cup of tea, real tea, without any bitter aftertaste, without any fear of what it might contain. As she sat at her kitchen island sipping the tea, she thought about the journey that had brought her to this moment. Brandon was serving his sentence in federal prison. According to reports, he was not adjusting well to incarceration. Nicole was in a different facility, also struggling with the reality of her choices. The other members of their network were scattered across the federal prison system, their criminal careers permanently ended. Meanwhile, Zara had built something beautiful from the ashes of their betrayal. Her foundation was helping people every day. Her story was inspiring victims to fight back. Her experience was being used to change laws and protect innocent people. Her phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. It was Patricia Green. "I hope I'm not calling too late," the lawyer said. "I wanted to give you some news about the Thompson case." "Rachel's fiancé? We got him. FBI arrested him this afternoon trying to access her accounts. Turns out he's wanted in 3 other states for similar crimes." "And Rachel?" "Safe, financially secure, and grateful that you taught her to fight back instead of just accepting what was happening to her." After they hung up, Zara walked out onto her back deck and looked up at the stars. Somewhere in federal prison, Brandon was probably lying awake wondering how his perfect plan had gone so wrong. He had thought she was weak, naive, trusting to a fault. He had been wrong about everything. Zara Williams had never been weak. She had been kind, which was different. She had been trusting, which was brave. And when someone had tried to destroy that kindness and break that trust, she had fought back with a strength that surprised even herself. She pulled out her phone and called James Cooper. "Sorry to bother you so late," she said when he answered. "But I have an idea for expanding the foundation." "What kind of idea?" "International. I've been getting calls from victims in other countries who heard about our work. Romance scams and financial fraud are global problems. We should be helping people everywhere, not just here." "That's ambitious," James said. "It would require significant funding and resources." "We'll find the funding. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that good people will support good causes when they understand what's at stake." "I love it. Let's set up a meeting for tomorrow to start planning." As Zara ended the call, she realized she was smiling. Not the careful, measured smile she had worn during her marriage to Brandon, but a genuine expression of happiness and anticipation. She had work to do. People to help. Criminals to stop. A future to build. Walking back into her house, Zara passed the mirror in her hallway and paused to look at her reflection. The woman looking back at her was confident, strong, and unafraid. This was who she had always been underneath, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Brandon had tried to steal everything from her. Instead, he had given her the greatest gift of all, the knowledge of her own strength. In her bedroom, as she prepared for sleep, Zara spoke aloud the words that had become her personal motto, the words that summed up everything she had learned and everything she had become. You thought I was asleep. I was only waking up. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new victims to help, new battles to fight. But tonight, Zara Williams slept peacefully, knowing that she had turned her greatest betrayal into her greatest triumph, and that she would spend the rest of her life making sure no one else had to face their betrayals alone. The woman who had once pretended to sleep while her husband planned to destroy her life was now wide awake, strong, and unstoppable. And she was just getting started.